Hello and welcome back to the Who Pod. This month, I am joined by Yasmin, and we are going to be talking about the impression that Doctor Who has on ourselves and on other people.
Hmm.
That's a good title.
It's a long one, but it'll do.
I mean, I like long titles.
I'm aware.
You know,
I like short, snappy ones. That's the thing.
I don't call birds of prey birds of prey. I call it the fabulous Harley Quinn.
Flying
That joke would have
birds.
made more sense if I understood the title. This month, I am joined by Yasmin. Dun dun dun. This is when you say something
Oh, like what?
like that's perfect. Let's move on.
Yes.
And this month we are going to be talking about. This was your idea, to be honest. It's not mine. We're going to
Yeah.
be talking about the impression that Doctor Who has on children, but also ourselves. I think we're going to talk about like the characteristics that you get from Doctor Who, because I
Yeah.
think. I mean, I've watched it for long enough, and I have a couple of things to talk about on that matter, because I've seen it for such a long time. It's
Because
part
we
of the
grew
way I
up with it.
speak and the personality and everything like that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's really sad to say, but it's like due to Doctor Who, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I would have never met you without Doctor Who
Hmm.
or
How
COVID
could
for
you
that
have lived
matter.
without me? Oh, that is true. There's
Easily.
two things that tie in. Yeah. I mean, I think that's why I really want to discuss how valuable the show is because it's not just a show. I've always said this, it's not just a show. It has so much more value to it because of what it teaches us. And especially for children growing up, like I watched it growing up. And I probably wouldn't have most of the views I have now if it weren't for Doctor Who.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can talk about, and I'm sure that in future episodes you will talk about sort of the other themes of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
The original idea for this episode, for example.
Yeah, we'll break it down a bit more, yeah.
But yeah, well, where do you want to start with this? Oh,
Ooh.
hang on, I forgot to mention the mic bit. Oh,
Oh yeah.
okay. You might notice that she sounds slightly different this time, and that is because she's in a well. I don't know where that was going. This is because she has a new microphone.
Mhm.
Because she thought that she sounded like. What do you think you sounded like? You just thought you sounded awful.
Yeah, I can't listen to them back. All the other ones I've done.
Yeah.
I
But
think
then
I sound
then you
so.
bought a microphone and realized that that was just your voice.
Yeah, I was quite disheartened when I played it back and I thought, it's just me. I
Yeah.
just don't like the sound of my own voice.
But look out for any sort of hits on the table, or I just hit the
Yeah.
table, for example,
Yeah.
any hits on the table or anything like that, because
Yeah, bear with because it's the first time I'm using this
first
as
time
a
using the
record, like
microphone.
on a recording.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. I mean, if you can, I don't know, point them out in the comments, just to make her feel bad, that'd be lovely.
Oh no.
I might cut out some, like I might have a go, but we'll see. So where do you want to start with this?
I feel like probably the most
I mean, you took
uh
notes. I obviously it
I
won't
did. I
translate,
did
but
research because I'm a nerd.
you have like 3 pages of well, it looks
Yeah.
like 3 pages of notes that you
Yeah, I had
showed me
to.
on an A4 piece of paper, um, which is
That's so sad.
kind of it's
I
slightly
know.
psychopathic behavior.
But it's dedication.
Yeah, dedication to something you're not getting paid
Hmm.
for, and you're still not. Um,
Oh no, I'm not being paid for your editing either.
what
I'm the one who
editing?
edits Dan's stuff.
No, you don't
Like,
ever.
oh
No,
my
no, you don't.
god.
No, you never edit anything. I mean, in terms of script, yeah, but in
Oh
terms of
yeah, that's
actual,
what I
like, yeah,
mean.
nah, never.
Oh, you know I'm not good with technology. I created an error the other day.
You created an error.
I created a new error.
You became the error.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it.
What
I
error
am
did
the
you
error.
cause?
It was the one with the crew link thing ages ago. And there was like a common error that was like five
Do you mean
two, three, or whatever.
an Among Us
On the
mod?
Among Us one, yeah.
Yeah.
And mine came up saying error 522 was one of them. And Joe looked it up and was like, that doesn't exist. Like, I can't find anything to help you. And I
There's
thought,
no
I just
error.
created it. No, that's how badly technology goes for
At
me.
least, at least your computer could actually run it. I mean, we
That's
tried to get
true.
me in with the crew link, and each time it just failed. And this is completely.
Off
like
topic.
irrelevant and like just off topic. But
Completely off topic.
go talk about your notes.
Right. I mean, I think the most like reoccurring theme across New Who especially is the whole thing of war. Like obviously he went through the Time War
Yeah,
and now how he has like this new moral of, you know, no weapons. He always use words as weapons. So
war is
he's
in
the
grief or like grief of war or just war and being
just
against
war in
war.
general. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's known as like the unarmed man. He's a
Mm-hmm.
soldier who doesn't
Apart from
carry a
obviously when
gun
he
kind
is,
of thing. Yeah, but
or
when he
or she
does,
is.
on the occasional time
Yeah.
where he, fancies shooting
Or
a
you're the
general.
Bruce Doctor,
Yeah.
just all
God,
those
yeah.
things, don't use a gun otherwise. But yeah, but
Yeah.
you don't use a gun. A peaceful solution in it. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
that kind of because I think I don't know. I mean, I would always say that Doctor Who is a boys' show, just because when I was younger, I mean, at my school there was me, there was Will. That was
Yeah.
it. I'm not
I
quite sure
mean,
who else there was, to be honest. I'm sure there were other people that watched it, but like
mm,
fans that like now, like there's thousands. I know loads of people now, but
yeah.
but back then, back in primary school, not at all. And I would always say that Doctor Who, and I thought this in primary school, which is why I bring it up. But Doctor Who is to me was always quite a boys' show because my
Mm,
experience with it
yeah.
was a boys, and unlike a lot of action stars, or if you take a look at Die Hard. I mean, I don't know why I
Mm,
knew about Die Hard when I was 9, but just sort of action stars, like any film or any media that's aimed at boys, it's like your sort of jacked, sort of
yeah.
muscular, athletic, successful superhero character.
Mm,
And in reality, your scrawny little kid is not really
yeah.
the
Yeah.
archetype for Captain America. So,
Mm,
they literally get rid of that. And I think that Doctor's like embodies Captain America before he became just Steve Rogers.
yeah. Yeah. Steve Rogers
The
before
Doctor
the
is Steve.
injection and stuff.
Steve
Yeah.
Rogers is a pre-Hartnell Doctor.
Yeah. I think going back to what you said about how you thought it was sort of mainly for boys, I think that was more for like sci-fi in general. And I think we've definitely progressed
Mm,
since then. So I
yeah.
remember being at primary school,
Stargate.
I was always the rare girl who liked Star Wars, Star Trek, and Doctor Who and things like that.
Yeah.
And even half the boys didn't even watch Doctor Who. I was sort of very alone up until recently. I didn't know anyone who really watched it. So I think we've obviously definitely progressed from, that gender stereotype of sci-fi is for boys, romance and things is for girls.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I
I
mean,
definitely remember a time where
look at
that
Comic
was the
Con.
case. Yeah. And now it's so much different. It's so
Mm.
much more diverse, and it's, those gender stereotypes are definitely broken down. And whether that's from Doctor Who, I don't think it's never been aimed at
Yeah, it
just
was
boys.
never
It's been aimed for
intentionally
everyone.
that
Yeah.
way, but
No,
I
I
think it's
think it was
just
because of the
the interest of it.
sci-fi
Yeah.
aspect of it, and
Hmm.
sci-fi was mainly sort
Or
of
in
aimed towards
general,
boys and things. You think sometimes it's still the case. You think
it's the blue,
Batman
it's the colors as
merchandise and
well, because
things
it's
are
all
always in
color
like the boys
association.
section. Yeah,
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 because Doctor Who is always like a blue or a
yeah,
it's girl stuff. Like even now, even when they say that it's not really a thing anymore, you walk down B&M because that's like the only place that I go that sells toys because of the action for the Doctor Who figures. And you walk down the aisles and it's like the girl stuff is like all pink or
yeah.
kind of a red,
Or
and then
Barbie dolls and things like that, and all the Doctor Who stuff and all the
there's
sci-fi
the
action figures,
boys that are
all
like
in like the boys
green
section.
and
Yeah,
black and blue
yeah,
and just that kind of color scheme. And it kind of if you if I looked at a show and it was pink, however good the show was, I probably still wouldn't watch it because it'd be for girls. Well, I mean that would be my mindset back in
yeah. I think that's what
2008.
what we're brought up with,
You
isn't
know,
it? It's the whole thing with toys and clothes. It's always boys, girls until they grow up and be their own more individual, unique person. You're sort of guided towards.
I mean, but Doctor Who's never really followed the
No,
color
no,
thing anyway, is it really? I'm
no.
just thinking about like series 4 and like series 3 and the golden colors and kind of
Mm. Yeah,
the like Jodie Whittaker's era, which is just like every color possible.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
especially for
Colin
series, I think it
Baker
was
with his
13.
costume,
Yeah, I mean,
literally every color possible.
horrible mustard yellows and all types of stuff like that.
You really must have upset the costume department.
He didn't
This
want
just
it.
proves that you don't mess with the costume department.
He didn't want that costume. He wanted to. He described it. I don't know. I think I watched Trial of the Time Lord, and he said that he really wanted a costume that was a lot like what they went with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was that kind of look, and then they went, no, John
Yeah,
Nathan Turner wants
exactly. Surely
this.
if he put forward that idea and the costume department gave him that,
I know.
whatever that was, I was like,
Apparently,
did you do
the
something to the costume
producer
department?
was really into the idea of giving him a big, horrible, colourful
Oh,
jacket that made him look like
boy.
is it Joseph? Made it look like Joseph,
Oh yes, the Joseph coat, yeah.
and the really annoying personality as well. For season 21 was all due to John Nathan Turner primarily.
Mm.
But when you get into Doctor Who and its sort of archetype of the target audience, which I suppose could be a thing by itself, it's never really meant that much, but it's always been about unity as well, hasn't it?
Mm.
It's kind of fighting against the fascists. Okay, hello. Well, this wasn't supposed to happen. So what happened is that we had a technical issue where just after I finished that sentence, or in the middle of the sentence, my computer and my storage device disconnected and reconnected, which meant that I lost everything after that point, even though from my point of view, everything was working exactly like it should do normally.
Mhm.
So, when I came to trying to convert the podcast, it was at 15 minutes, which was a concern. And now we're back again to film
We
the other.
time traveled back to yesterday when we
Yeah, I
recorded,
mean,
the
it's
day
currently
before.
night again. It's
Yeah.
it's Friday evening, no longer Saturday afternoon. But the point being that this, even though I'm sure our conversations will go in different ways and everything like that, there's going to be a bit of familiarity to what we're saying, which I absolutely
Mhm.
hate, but there is no way of avoiding it. I'd much rather just film it again and than spend hours upon hours trying to recover something that I can't recover, basically.
Mhm.
So we were talking before the thing cut out and went weird, about unity and the Doctor sort of unifying people.
Yeah. I again I can't remember the points we made, but I guess it is so inclusive in that way that no matter where he goes, he's always bringing people together,
Yes.
which is such a positive thing, isn't it? Because there's so much um uh what's a better word for separation? Division. There's so much
Segregation.
division in today's society that when you can watch something like Doctor Who, which just brings everyone together, no matter what race, gender, or alien planet you're from, he will always bring them together in some way and
Yeah.
battle against whatever he's facing.
Whatever it might be. You know, I don't know whether you've talked about it in the actual cut or the cut that was lost, but you said that you took lessons from the Doctor and his kind of thing about unity and a way of dealing with situations and making it uh, and use that with your own life and dealing with
Oh
friendships
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff. A kind of peaceful solution.
yeah,
Said the words a lot about words win wars and
yeah.
things like that. And I feel like I'm just taking everything that came out of your mouth and just
Yeah, you're doing my job
regurgitating
for
it.
me.
Um,
Yeah, it's especially growing up, it was so valuable to have something like that in my life, because it's sort of made the person who I am now. Um, it's made me see the world a lot differently, I think, especially with the whole way that he solves problems and he does what's right. He's not doing it to win. He's doing it because it's right, and he just be kind. And he's not the predictable hero that we all see in Marvel films or something, or DC films where
mhm.
he's you've got Batman fighting hate with hate kind of thing. He's
Batman doesn't kill.
I've never
Batman's got a
seen
moral
Batman,
code.
so it was a bad point to make.
It's not like the films, like DC films, like the EU kind of thing. But in the comics, Batman doesn't kill because it's to do with his mother and father dying. Basically, that's why he doesn't kill people. And I suppose that the Doctor's kind of got a moral code like Batman. I'm
Hmm.
not really saying that the
Oh yeah.
Doctor's Batman, but the point being that they share a similarity that they both have a moral
Hmm.
code, but Batman's is a bit
Hmm.
broken.
I think what as well why he's not like a predictable sort of stereotypical hero is because he doesn't have any powers either. He just uses kindness and words. That are they are his powers, his
Mm,
abilities. And I think that's why I wouldn't really call him a hero.
yeah.
Obviously he is in a way, he's obviously a hero, but I wouldn't call him a superhero because he doesn't have those sort of superhero powers as such,
Mm. No, I
he's not
can't
super
remember
strong,
if
he's
we
not
talked
it's
about
kind
this
of
the
thing like
first
that.
time, but yeah, we talked about how, he's not Captain America.
No.
He's like he's Steve Rogers before,
Mm.
he's Steve Rogers instead of Captain America, and all that kind of stuff. And his kind of peacemaking uh, peacemaking abilities, peace striving attitude, and
Mm.
his motivation to keep everyone happy, and settle arguments between sides and classes and all types of stuff like
Yeah.
that, and try to bring them into a common understanding and a common ground, and trying to get them to agree and make friends is
Yeah.
something very Doctor, and is something that you kind of, which is a good message.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that ties in with like, especially for me growing up, my opinion on war and things like that, and even just small fights at school, it's always been to, right, just sit down and talk it out. Like there's no need to punch one another kind of thing. It's no need to start a
Yeah,
war.
yeah, and
And
then
I
you
think
get
that's probably
punched.
the main thing that I took from it, because obviously we've seen him suffer from a war and what he did and how he suffered from that and how he changed from that. And, he's always had that sort of moral, as we see in Saigon inversion speech, that wars are obviously, as we know, wars are dangerous, and he sort of says what no one else will, with the whole thing of leaders will end lives just to win an argument kind of thing. And I always thought that perhaps that's why the Doctor never wants to win, because he knows what winning will cost.
Well, he
um
never wants an army because that's
no.
not the way that he does it.
Yeah. And I think he knows that by having an army he's going to lose people,
Yeah,
because that's what you see in wars,
the
isn't
whole
it?
general thing.
No
This is
one's
why
going to
he
survive. Yeah.
travels very relatively under-equipped
Mm.
and
And that's why I
undernumbered.
really liked Day of the Doctor as well, because it was just three versions of the Doctor trying to stop a war that he did once, finish, but not in a good way. And now he's doing it in a way um, that involves kindness and, um, you know, it's a better solution because he saved it as opposed to just blowing it up before. So it's nice that again, like what I said before, he's very human like that. He's did something that's made him regret, and he's moved on from that, and he's
Mhm.
learnt from it, and he's gone back and fixed it, because luckily he's one of those people who can go back and fix it.
Yeah,
um you know
like
and I think that's,
it goes
yeah.
back to the whole superhero thing as well, doesn't it? Because
Mm.
I've been watching WandaVision because last
I
night there was a
watched
new
it.
episode, and I watched it, and you look at some of the sort of characters and that, and you think, oh, they're very well written, and everything like that. But I don't relate to Vision. I don't relate to a
Mm.
big giant robot. I mean, you do in as much as you can, but I think in terms of seeing yourself in characters, I mean,
Mm.
I don't see myself in Tony Stark, that kind of stuff. But I think in the Doctor, everyone sees a bit of themselves, because even like extroverts say that they're, oh, I'm shy, I'm a shy person, I'm closeted, I'm not really uh, big and proud, and crazy with actions, and I don't fight a war, and because
Yeah.
it happens, it's an action scene, or that kind of stuff. It's like you have to kind of avoid fighting, which is
Yeah.
good.
He's
I mean,
awkward. The Doctor's awkward. He's a superhero that's awkward and hasn't
mm,
really got any powers. He just talks. And
yeah.
that's my ideal kind of hero. Someone who talks a lot and someone who doesn't, fight with weapons. He's never carried a gun. He's known as the unarmed man who won the Time War sort of thing. And it's just, I think that's something so good to have growing up. Like, it's so valuable to teach, especially young audiences, that talking and words are better than taking a gun and, you know, fighting. And, you know, that's why I think it's so valuable.
And I think that everyone has a bit of a shy sort of phase, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, a kind of like a, yeah, I'm still kind of in there, but you get, everyone has a shy phase for a certain amount of time, and it kind of, you know, the Doctor just kind of never really left that phase, and he's always in that phase. Well, I mean, there's been some doctors that have been a bit, you know, quirky and a bit mental, and, you know, Jodie Whittaker, you know, she could have the dark undertone of her not wanting to be alone. And there was this lovely moment in Revolution of the Daleks when she says, you know, I could go back 10 months,
I
get them,
didn't
but
like
doing
that.
that, she would actually rewrite time.
Yeah, I
Something
think
that
that
she can't do.
was that was quite human of her to say that. I think that brought back a bit of humanity in her. You know,
I
she was like,
thought
well, maybe I could do
that
it.
was
The
a good line.
desperation of, you know, someone who's just lost someone, even though they're not dead. But I thought it was a bit out of character because I was like, you know, by now you can't do that. And I know you're saying that for the sake of just saying what you can't
Oh,
do.
sadness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
sad.
saying what you can't do, just so you could, you know, I just found it a bit weird. But then
Yeah.
again, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I don't really like it. But yeah, as we were talking about the 13th, I don't know if this was mentioned in the first 15 minutes, but that's why um, I found series 11 and 12, all the messages and things that they've said in series 11 and 12 have not been as impactful because they're not subtle. They're very in your face. So at the end of Orphan 55, the Doctor's speech was just so, like, I always felt like a kid being told off, and it wasn't the impact that I'm used to having. So with Russell T Davies, he was very good at being subtle and in a way that, you know, in Turn Left, he mentioned sort of labour camps, and obviously back then I had no idea what they were, but now I'm older and I've learned about it. It hits you a lot more, and you're like, oh my god, that's so real. And you think that's obviously so wrong. And like Planet of the Ood as well with slavery, you really feel for these Ood, and then you can reflect that into reality with obviously slaves and
Yeah, like there's a lot of
discrimination as
things
well.
that I saw, like Cybermen, my favorite villains, Daleks. I made this joke many times before, but you know, I don't look at a Dalek and think, God, I love Daleks. You know, they're just
Yeah,
fascists. They are just Daleks to me as a
yeah,
child, anyway. And when I look at Cybermen, I don't think about uniformity and a complete lack of creativity, you know, and loss of it due to, you know, everyone being identical and everything like that. It's like it's you know, your free identity and the free will and all that kind of stuff from the Sidemen that you get. That's something that doesn't exist. That kind of level of subtle imagery or subtle
mm,
messages instead of just. And I mean, sometimes they don't need to be subtle. You don't have to make every message that you put
yeah.
out subtle. But I
But they're
mean,
simple as well. I think that's what's good. Like with the
yeah,
Daleks, they have no villainous depth to them. There's no horrible backstory like the Joker kind of thing. It's just pure hatred. And I think that's something good for um like young viewers to have the Doctor just fight pure hate in a way that still doesn't in most cases use weapons or things. He's very clever about it. He has a whole plan and a scheme and things, but in a way that obviously I know Dark's a bit different with the Doctor. He will just blow him up,
yeah.
but or he will trigger it. So you know, in Magician's Apprentice, I can't remember what's it called. What was the one afterwards?
Which is familiar.
Which is familiar. It's the Daleks from the sewers that wipe out the Daleks. It's not necessarily Doctor himself. He may have triggered it, or Missy may have triggered it, but he didn't. You know, he hasn't got blood on his hands, quite literally, if you know what I mean. So I think it's good for any audience members to just see the Doctor fight just pure hate and not have to. Oh, where am I going with this? I
And
don't know, but I think it's good
well,
that the Daleks are just pure hatred. They have no depth to them at
yeah,
all,
talking
so
about
it's
the
easy that you
Daleks
can.
though, their look is very like, and they're not really big or strong. I mean, because they have
No.
metal cases, that makes them strong. But within that, they're just kind of pathetic little blobs, and
Mm,
that's all they are. And that's all that's left of them. Is they're so consumed by their hate that they have. If you look at Genesis of the Daleks, they're basically Nazis. They're walking
yeah.
people that are basically just Nazis, killing everything that doesn't look like them. And then as it's sort of evolved and has changed, they've become Twitter, but they've also become like just disgusting little blobs
Little
that are so
squid.
pathetic and little and weak and
Mm,
a whole bunch of adjectives. And that's meant that they've become that's reliant on big tank armor in order to survive and in order to look big and all that kind of stuff.
mm.
Which is saying a lot about hate. And I don't know whether that was intentional. I mean, it must be. It's very deep and well layered to just
Well, yeah,
be.
I think the whole thing with the way that they are designed is that the Daleks just don't care for vanity as such. They don't care about upgrading in any way. Uh, they are just how they look because that's what's suitable and that's what works. So I
Mm,
think just because they are so pure on hate and purely built with just hate, that they don't
yes.
care for how they look at all. It's nothing. It's not like Cybermen where they constantly keep upgrading in order to get better. The Darks don't care for that. They just want to wipe out everyone and just
Well, they
keep
wouldn't.
on
The
hating.
Cybermen wouldn't keep upgrading.
Mm.
Nightmare and Silver, right? Terrible episode. Basically had the idea that the Cybermen would then upgrade themselves and kind
Mm.
of improve. And it's like, no, I don't like. I mean, there's a lot wrong with that episode, but like, Cybermen can't really improve because a part of their thing is that the uniformity. Every Cyberman is the same, and there's no differences or weaknesses. Well, there is weakness, obviously, but everything is the same. There's no creativity. There's no evolution there. It's just
Mm.
that. Um, and with Daleks just want to kill. Basically,
Yeah.
they're just the bad guys. Like,
Yeah, and I think to have such a simple villain like that with no depth to them, no need for understanding why they're like that, and for the Doctor to have to face them quite consistently, it's just sort of good that even though he's being faced with something made of pure hatred, he still sticks to his morals most of the time. I say most of the time. Um, no matter what he faces, he will
mm,
still face them with the same moral of, you know, talking it out and giving them a choice. Like with the Sycorax, he gave them a choice, but then what's her face?
Harriet Jones.
That's the one. Yes, I know who she is. I thought I'll slip that in there. She blew them up. He always gives them a chance first, and it's like it's almost like think of it like boss levels. You've got all these aliens before Daleks that are bad, and he will still offer them a choice first, and you'll still
Yeah,
talk it out
to
or
leave or
be smart with it. He won't just
tracksuits
go,
and
right,
time,
that's
all
it,
that kind of stuff.
we're at war now. He'll think of a more smarter strategy that will save people, all people, and hopefully sometimes the enemy, depending on who they are. He will
Mighty
try and
team.
save as many people as he can. He's not about winning, he's about doing what's right and saving people, and saving as many people as
Yeah.
he can. And even with the Daleks, he will try and save as many people as he can.
Mm.
And the fact that he sort of doesn't, so obviously sometimes he doesn't go by his moral code with the Daleks because they're the Daleks, and
Yeah,
obviously they've got a
that's what
history.
makes the Daleks so special is that the Doctor
Mm.
doesn't give them that choice. I mean, it's it's almost
He
like
brings out the darker side in
yeah,
them
he
as
never
well,
get
which
it.
makes him so much more human. Obviously, like there's always going to be that one thing that you hate so
Mm. And he's
passionately.
not just simply good or evil. He's not
No,
simply just the good guy. He has a
no.
darker past and he has darker incarnations. The War Doctor, and genocide across his entire species and all that kind of stuff. Make the Doctor, I wouldn't say human, because obviously I don't think many people have committed genocide to a whole species, but the Doctor's flawed, which is
Hmm.
good in terms of a main character. I mean,
Yeah.
superheroes are flawed all the time and things like that,
But
but
I think, yeah, I think with
not as
superheroes
much
being
as the
flawed,
Doctor.
it's not necessarily um, targeted at audiences. It's not something that kids will see as much. It's not something that I mean, to be honest, I don't sort of watch it until I was older, until more recently. Obviously, when I first watched like Marvel films when I was younger, I was like, oh my god, superhero, Captain America, Iron Man, that's so cool. And just seeing them for the visual effects and the way that they take down all the bad guys was just cool. But I wasn't really there for, um, the depthness of their character sort of thing when I was younger. So having the Doctor when I was younger felt more relatable because like he didn't have these superpowers. He had just very humanistic, character traits. He was very obviously being kind, but he does have this darker side and it comes out every now and then, but he always has someone to bring him back, to reel him back in. That's why he always needs a companion kind of thing. And I think that's why it sort of separates from him being a superhero and just a normal hero.
Yeah, my dog's barking in the background. I
I
need
can
to mute
hear.
that. Somebody's walked past. Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. Should we talk about something that you brought up that was very interesting, and that is representation? And
Oh
we've
yeah.
talked a lot about the Doctor, but we should probably talk about other people because obviously I think media in general is something that you can easily take upon yourself and kind of influence you. And for me, it's
Mm-hmm.
influenced me in many ways. And we can probably talk about them later. But in terms of Doctor Who in particular, it's kind of exposed me to other walks of life, other backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it shows within the fandom as well, because you
Yeah.
get people from all over the north, the south, the different countries, and all that kind of different religions and sexual preferences, everything like that. You get everything
Mm.
with the Doctor Who,
Yeah.
unlike
Yeah.
any other real franchises. I mean, Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. They're kind of, linked in some aspect, with a very uh, diverse sort of fan base.
Hmm.
But
I mean, it is literally a show based on, exploring the universe. You're always going to have that diversity with different
yeah,
species,
and
but it brings it a
outsiders
lot
and
closer to home
outcasts and
with
stuff.
characters like Captain Jack. And for me to grow up with someone like Captain Jack was just
Mm.
brilliant because he's such a lovable character anyway. But the fact that he's very openly bisexual, he loves everyone, he will kiss with anyone, even if they are an alien. It just maintains that positive um, sort of perspective on the representation, of LGBTQ plus characters and, different religious characters as well. It just maintains that positive
Yeah, I
opinion
think
towards it. So I've never been told that it was bad to be gay or whatever. But because obviously, we said before that you are taught to hate. It's not something you're born with. You're not born hating.
yeah,
It's something you're taught.
you're talking.
So
Yeah,
I've never been taught that it was bad growing up, and having that representation in Doctor Who when I was younger just continued that. It just meant that, oh, he loves everyone, that's fine. And because they're such good characters and such natural characters as well, um like Jack, and obviously later on we had Bill, although she did, say it a few times, but that was fine because that was just who she is. She wasn't shouting about it in a way that was like, oh, look at me, I'm a gay companion, I'm like the first one or whatever
apart
ish.
from obviously when she
It's
was.
yeah.
She
But
had
she was,
certain moments when there were just
yeah,
weird lines of dialogue when she'd just
yeah.
get out and
But in
tell
a
the
way it was
Doctor for
sort of
no
nice,
reason.
that they did make a point out of it, but not in a
Hmm.
way that they were doing it for the sake of diversity and for the sake of having a gay companion. I think that was more the media that did that. The media was
Yeah.
more,
Well, I
oh,
mean, I think
Doctor Who,
they
first
did
gay
that as
companion,
well.
big deal. But
The,
it's not
the
really.
production or the advertising
Mm.
team, whatever, also did that a bit as well because, there was a video that came out when she was cast and they went and said that Bill was gay. They did a whole thing about her being, uh, they're like, Billy's gay and it doesn't matter. So we've made a full 1 minute long promotional video with interviews about it. And if you have to announce it, then it definitely does matter to you.
Yeah.
But really, in the show, it didn't matter that much. Last time I watched it, it just felt like this part of Bill instead. Bill's
Yeah,
character instead just forced on there.
I remember
media
the
points.
Vastra and Jenny sort of kiss in Deep Breath, although
Yeah, I
people were
mean,
like, "Oh, it wasn't a kiss; it was them sharing breath
it
or
was a
whatever."
weird bit
But I
though.
was like, there was. I remember there being quite a big deal
Yeah,
about it. But for
me and
me
Will did a
watching it, I couldn't care
video about
less. I
this
just
a while
thought
ago.
these are two great characters that we know and have learned to love because, well, personally, I loved them. I think they're a great little trio with Strax as well.
Mm.
But people were sort of like, is this? Can we show our children this? And I was like, well, yeah, show them that it's normal that an alien can be married to a
Yeah,
human woman.
it's.
It's
I mean, yeah, Doctor Who is not bloody the news. Like I always
no,
think that why people try to shelter children from everything. It's like,
yeah,
oh, you can't watch this because it's got swearing in it. I don't know if you've ever
yeah.
walked around a street or been in town
Or being
or
at school.
been at
I mean,
school.
yeah.
How come the in
That's
between us
why
is
again,
15? But by the time I
exactly.
was younger than that, people we were swearing and all that kind of stuff was
Mm,
happening into year 7.
yeah.
And it's something that they I don't know why, but the media likes to pretend like children and children until they're eh,
They think that children are
7.
vulnerable to it,
Yeah,
and it's not. This is valuable. They should be watching this, and they should be learning from it, and learning that it's okay and it's natural and it's normal. You
yeah.
know, they
It's
never made it within the show. There was no deal about it. There was no, when Bill said, "Oh, I'm sort of swinging the other way," the doctor was like, "Oh my god, really? Oh, that's absolutely okay. Don't worry." He was just like, "Whatever." Like there was
yeah,
no, because obviously he's like that. He's very accepting of everyone, and that's a good representation to have. To have someone who's just so chilled out about it that doesn't even mention it, and to have a brilliant, funny character like Jack, who we all know and love, to also be, you know, a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Um, it just gives you that really positive representation that
mm,
everyone needs, especially when you're growing up.
yeah. And it always has been because I think 10th Planet featured a black man as an astronaut or something, and that was like the first time that there was a black man in Doctor Who. I think he died not too long ago as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in 10th Planet, there's an astronaut who's black,
Mm.
and they don't like bring him out and like wheel him out. He's
Yeah.
your token black man used for getting points on the newspaper the next
Yeah, that's
morning.
the thing.
Something like that.
They're not like the token people as such,
I
are
mean,
they?
I think
Especially in New Who as
sometimes
well.
you do get
It's
characters that are like certain shows, make characters gay
oh,
for the
definitely
sake of
certain shows, but not
turning
within
it
Doctor
around and
Who.
going, we can talk about this in another podcast episode, but some shows turn around and just kind of say this character's gay. Why?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I guess that's yeah, if they
story,
make it their
we've got a plot
sole
line of
yeah,
them being gay, which is like their only
yeah.
plot line. In Umbrella Academy, Vanya's
Oh,
plotline
yes.
during series 2 was a lot that she was just sort of a lesbian. It was like,
But the thing is with Umbrella Academy, this is why I absolutely love it, is that they had no sort of coming out story on that wasn't their main personality. So with Klaus being gay, we never got told that. It was just shown through
it's
his
just part of his
character and
character,
through
yeah,
his story.
just who he
And the
is.
main sort of storyline for him was dealing with his powers and sort of
Mm.
being quite alone because none of the siblings really cared about him. And obviously in series 2 you had Vanya. Again, that wasn't told because obviously she was with a man beginning, and then in the second series she was with a woman, and it just wasn't shouted at you. It was just presented so naturally, and
Yeah,
so just like it would be if it was a straight relationships. Because it's rare that we have a romance film that's set out the same way as a straight romance film, if that makes
yeah.
sense. Because
What
there's
I
always
said
this
was
bit
a
with you've either
perfect
got
example.
parents who don't know, or they haven't
Yeah,
fully come out to
there's
everyone
always
yet, and
there
there's
was
always
always a
that
coming out aspect.
storyline that's very
I
repetitive.
watched a film called The Prom.
Hmm.
It's on Netflix, and I mean, I wasn't a big fan of it. I felt like it was very preachy and sort of trying to get it was like pulling out the token gay card and using it for what felt like a selling point of the film basically
Mm.
was that everyone's gay in this film. That's the
Yeah.
token to it, but
But I think sometimes when they do that, it
that's
fails to be
awful.
natural.
It was. It was.
It's
It
not
was
like the
awful.
right
It was so bad. I
representation.
hated it.
Mm.
There was a song called "Love Thy Neighbor," which is the guy from Big Mouth
Yeah.
walking around and telling these two these group that are homophobic and like are supposed to be religious that their views are silly because the Bible never states that, and it was added later on, and it says to love thy neighbor, and it's doing that you're not by hating this girl because she's gay, you're not you're failing on that point. um
Mm.
and I mean it felt like the film was trying to do good. Like it was trying to be, a nice little film, about diversity and,
Yeah, I mean, it's still good that we have those kind of
that kind of
films,
stuff. But it
but it'd
just
be
felt so
nicer for something to feel
forced
more
and
natural.
so
Yeah, that's why I really
unwillingly,
liked.
like, this is what you're getting with this film, not fake.
They are sort of meant to be representing us. The people always asking questions, being fascinated by the universe, and entering the
Yeah.
TARDIS and saying it's big on the inside, kind of thing. They're
Now
meant
that
to
I look back
represent
on
us. So it's
everything,
good that
why
we
it took
now
him so
have,
long.
like, especially with Bill, um, having a gay companion. It keeps on giving us things that we can relate to, people we can
Mhm.
relate to.
It is a shame that Bill only had one season because I think if
I
we'd
know,
had
I
more, then
really love Bill.
she'd be
You know
better.
what?
But
She was very refreshing because
yeah,
I got kind of tired of how many people were falling in love with the Doctor and this whole romance story. That's why I'm not really a big fan of the Doctor and Yaz, because A, it came out of nowhere because Chibnall obviously decided last minute this was going to be a thing.
I think it's just
And
because like a certain group of fans were very vocal about it. And
it just didn't.
for me, I've seen Rose, and
Yeah, we've
nowadays
had we've
I'm not
had
into
Rose
that
and
idea
Doctor, and then
anymore.
after Rose we had Martha, and who was brilliant, by the way. Love her more than Rose.
And then Donna was
And then
the
we
kind
had
of
Donna, who was just
refreshing
a
of
friend.
it.
That's why
Yeah.
I love Bill, is that she's sort of similar to Donna in a way that she doesn't fall in love with the Doctor. She's just there for the fun and for the adventures,
Mm.
and she's got that good friendship with the Doctor. She's not there for a romance story.
Yeah.
That's not her sole purpose.
It's
And with
just a
Clara, there was
horrible.
sort of a bit of that, but it wasn't as prominent. It was quite subtle.
Yeah.
You know, the Doctor saying, "Oh, I'm not your boyfriend," and Clara said, "I never said you were," and the Doctor says, "I never said it was your mistake." And I was like,
I
"Oh,
mean, Clara definitely fancied him, the
oh
younger
yeah."
version.
At some point, yeah,
But it was
she
never
changed a
something that
lot,
they
didn't she?
took particularly. Yeah, she changed massively into season 8. But series 8, they were quite good. I think that's how I would like the whole Doctor Yasmin relationship to stay. Just because we've seen it before, not because
Yeah,
representation and
it gets
all that kind of
repetitive in the
stuff. But
end, and that's why Bill was so refreshing, and because she was so bubbly and just she enjoyed every moment of it. Whereas with Clara towards the end, she was quite well, she was almost becoming the Doctor in a way.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah.
like she wasn't seeing it from a companion point of view anymore,
Bloody
and we weren't
Clara.
seeing it from a
Yeah.
companion point of view anymore.
Yes, yes, Clara. I mean, I don't mind Clara that much. I found her
Oh
annoying
no,
in
I do
season
like
9, but
Clara.
in series 9, but apart from that, I think she's quite good. In moving on to something else, we've talked about a whole bunch of relationships and that kind of good life lesson and everything you get from Doctor Who.
Hmm.
Um, do you want to talk about our own personal connections to Doctor Who instead of
Yeah,
a kind of generalization? Do you want to go
yeah.
first?
I think so. Yeah. For me, I started watching it in primary school, which primary school wasn't too great for me. Um, so to go home at 3 o'clock, by the time I got home, Sarah Jane Adventures was always on, and that was just the best thing for me to watch growing up. It was just absolutely loved it. It was like having a sort of mother on TV. I think that she was sort of a mother to everyone, Sarah Jane, and it was just so enjoyable. And obviously through that, And at the same time, I was obviously watching Doctor Who. Although I don't really remember watching David Tennant's March live, I remember watching his final episode very vividly. I remember watching him regenerate
Yeah, so
and
do I.
Matt Smith coming on, and I felt like I was like, oh, Matt Smith, oh, don't know who he is. I'm not gonna like him, like I am with every Doctor who comes in. Then I watched their first episode, and I'm like, oh, I love them. And with Series 5, especially because it has such a good vibe the whole time. It's not a series that has such a dark
It's a fairy
theme. So the
tale
one we had
series,
before,
isn't it?
Series 4, was all about 10 dying and this 4 Knox thing and the Master
Yeah,
and
you
Gallifrey comes back. It
needed
was very heavy,
a
whereas Series
happier
5 was just
series
quite
5 bit.
light
Yeah.
and yeah, it was just about the cracks in time sort of thing, which was really interesting. Such a good series arc. Um, and it was nice to have something quite light growing up. And from that, and obviously it being a good show, I kept watching and kept learning. And I think with the Doctor in Series 5, and obviously being written by Stephen Moffat, who's quite poetic with it, it stuck with me. See, the whole thing with the words win wars, and that Stonehenge speech, and the way he will, you know, create Big Bang 2 just to save the universe again, and he will sacrifice himself, and he always remains kind. It's something that I really needed in that time when I was watching it growing up,
Mhm.
because it taught me just to be kind. You don't fight hate with hate, you talk to them. And I've always in high school broken up fights and things and said, right, you sit down and let's talk about it, because you're not going to get anywhere using your fists. You have to use your words. And I
Yeah.
don't feel like I would have been taught that, because it's not something they really teach you at school. They just tell you to sort of, oh, shake hands or hug if you get in an argument, kind of thing. And that does nothing.
Yeah.
You sit down and talk it out. And I've always used that if there was ever a problem, with a friendship group or with a teacher, I don't know, anything, any kind of situation.
A
I'll just
teacher.
sit down and be like, talk to them. Yeah, like, I really hate your lesson plan. Can you change it up? I would just sit down with people and I would always talk to them. Obviously, I'm not battling aliens or anything, but just battling everyday life just to be kind, and I don't think without Doctor Who I would have necessarily had that, because obviously we all move on from trauma in very different ways. Some people will, there's a thing of having almost two types of people. You will either move on, learn from it, and say no one else should feel the same way I am, or that person should feel like how I was, it in a way that, oh, they deserve it, kind of thing. They deserve to feel sad because they made me sad. There's always, different ways that you can move on from trauma and things. So I always was that person of, well, that person doesn't deserve to be as sad as I was. I hope that they are happier now and are in a better place. I don't know why that thing happened, but maybe they were in a dark place then as well. And I think it made me very sympathetic and empathetic towards everyone. In any situation, I'm always looking for, if there is a person who started a fight, I'll go to them and be like, what's going on? And I don't think I would have that approach to things if it weren't for Doctor Who teaching me to be kind first. And you're not there to win and be, you know, the whole winner of the situation. You're not there to be better than everyone else. You're just there to do the right thing and to be kind. And that's why I think it's so valuable for kids growing up, because without that, I wouldn't, necessarily be the person I am today. I don't know how much like I can give credit to Doctor Who, because obviously part of it is my own, you know, perspective on what happened, and obviously people around me. But I think I do owe quite a bit to the
Whoa.
show,
If you just heard double feedback, that is because my thing just slipped
No,
out. My
I didn't
headphone
hear
just
anything.
slipped out. So if you just heard double Yasmin, that's why. Yeah. So have you finished with
Yeah, yeah,
your bit? Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll say a bit of mine. Well, I try and keep it streamlined. But I don't think you've noticed that I mess up my words a lot, like all the time. I can't get a sentence out. I'm going to move the thing. Hang on 1 second. When it came to Doctor Who and its kind of effect on me, I think that it all started back in or when I first started watching it, I suppose my English was not great, just because I'm not very developed in speaking, and I had like a gunk in my ear, which made my hearing bad, which meant that I couldn't always hear properly. So that's why I say words weirdly. And maybe the ums and the as and the messing up of tenses is just a bit of stupidity sometimes. But yeah, sometimes it can be just a lack of understanding of the English language from just life and from when my ears were weird. So back then, watching a lot of Doctor Who is where I got a lot of my English from, as I later discovered at work maybe a year ago when I was talking to my work friend, and he was telling me about how I sound like David Tennant, trying to do an English accent, because people have told me that they don't know where I'm from. Some people think that I'm sort of doing an accent, or that I have an accent that you can't place. And I think it's
Yeah.
because my accent's kind of, well, I don't really have an accent from where I'm from, because I don't sound particularly northern. That's because I'm not from
No,
the
I
north.
wouldn't. When I first met you, I wouldn't have thought you were northern.
Well, I'm not
For me,
northern.
being very southern.
I'm not northern. I'm
Well, you are in the north for
you.
me.
I am to you.
You are northern.
I'm not that northern. I'm in the Midlands. It's called the middle, um, which is a
Hmm.
bit higher up, and with that, I think that it meant that my way I speak and the way I move my hands, and because I you can notice in my videos I
Oh
wiggle
yeah,
my hands
I
around all the
yeah I
time and
flap my hands
jump
around a lot, and
across the
Matt Smith has a
cameras,
lot
and
to answer for
yeah,
that. I will not be able to stand still and
yeah,
talk about anything.
it's difficult for my camera to sort of track my focus sometimes, because it's on, and I have to put it on autofocus, and because I jump around like an idiot in a video, that it tries its best to try and keep up with me. But because of that, and because of, and back to the thing that my work colleague said to me, was that it kind of got me thinking, because I had like a 3 hour shift, and what else was I supposed to do? Yeah, I had 3 hours left, so I thought that I thought about it a bit while I was washing plates, and I thought about kind of where my accent came from, and like how I've developed speech and things like that. If you look at videos from me when I was younger, it's all over the place. The tenses are a bit
Yeah,
weird, and I wouldn't say like as a child. I think that as a child I had quite a normal development, but in the older years of primary school, I think I kind of lost that edge.
Hmm.
I kind of
Yeah. I
lost
think it's very
lost it.
influential when you're younger. I think
Yeah.
you always look around you and take things from other people when you're growing up, and um,
Yeah, but
obviously you're
that's probably because
especially with media
I
and
watched too
TV
much
shows
Doctor
and
Who and not
movies.
enough schoolwork.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the point being with that is that I kind of developed a lot of speech from Doctor Who. I think a lot of words.
mm.
Like I can say Rex Carico Fallabatorius, but I can't always say hospital without having to think about it. Or receptionist.
Yeah.
You can notice that many times I don't say it correctly. And
Mm.
some words, I get tenses wrong and stuff, but I can say Doctor Who words better than I can do your regular English language. And I speak fast, even though that I'm unsure of what I'm saying. Sometimes it comes out quickly, and I think that part of that is to do with Doctor and rambling and all that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it is definitely my fault. I'm not saying that I'm just
Mm.
it's my
But you, as when you're
dyslexia or
younger and
whatever,
you're
innit?
reviewing, you are heavily influenced by what you watch and what you
Oh
read
yeah,
and things like
yeah.
that. So I
I
think
think
we've all
this
picked up at
entire
least something.
podcast has been us
Yeah.
talking about the
Yeah.
stuff that we've picked up because of Doctor Who, and
Yeah. I
Zan,
mean, I literally owe sort of my whole career goal to Doctor Who,
yeah,
because obviously growing up, I was so desperate to be in the TARDIS and traveling with the Doctor, and going on all these adventures. I used to pretend that the TARDIS has just arrived in my garden, whatever.
yeah,
What would I
yeah.
do? I'd run
I used to
downstairs.
play Doctor Who in the
Yeah.
playground.
Yeah, and that's what.
Anyone
Oh,
that really
see,
did.
I never could, because I was the only one who liked it. So
Yeah.
we always played Harry Potter, but I would
I used
live
to
in my
literally play
imaginary
Doctor Who with
worlds.
people that
Yeah,
haven't seen Doctor Who, so they didn't know what a
yeah,
Cyberman was or anything like that.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. I was sort
That
of
was
forced
fun.
to sort of live in my imagination, and
One of
now, well,
those
obviously, when I grew
games.
up, I realised how these things are filmed, and obviously they use actors. It's
Yeah.
not real.
Mm.
Um, Sorry for anyone listening who thought it was.
What?
And now I now I want to be an actor so I can live out my younger self sort of imaginary worlds and
Fantasy.
actually make it as the only way it can be as real as possible is to be on the set. And that's why I love how they've always made things properly. There's not much CGI, like Daleks are fully made and like the TARDIS as well. It's all proper
Yeah.
set. And that's how real it can be for
I mean,
me. It's by being
I
an
mean, a
actor.
lot of TV shows and a lot of movies have actually had to build the things that
Mm,
they stand in. But I think there's a, like Star Wars, the bit of an authentic sea, and
yeah.
I think there's a real sort of whirlwind of adventure. Like, there's a reason why people really like the speeches in Doctor Who, and the cool moments. Like for me, I remember the Voyage of the Damned, being an
Oh
epic
yeah.
moment in
Yeah.
Journey's End, and like that like got me up, and I was like, yeah, I'm like actually going to push the Daleks out the way like they are, and things like that. Yeah, it was simple because really there's not a
Yeah.
lot happening within that. See, all they're doing is pushing a Dalek off the
Exactly. That's what I liked about
away.
that because even it was Donna who was doing it, and she
Yeah,
had that
and
Time
that's
Lord human side of her
yeah,
inside of
it
her,
was
and
such a
she
cool
still
scene.
chose not to blow them up. She's like, I'm going to make them spin around, and I was like, that's just fun. Like
It's
you're just
kind of
turning them around.
makes
It's still
you
entertaining.
smile, isn't
It's
it?
not like a
Yeah,
mass murder of these things, apart from when he blows it up at the end.
yeah, apart from
But
when he murders things.
yeah, yeah. But in that moment, Donna's, you know, we can still aspire to Donna and the Time Lord and the human side of
Yeah,
her. That she would just, we're
just
gonna make
haven't
them
watched
spin
Sims 4 in a
around.
little
You
while.
give them a shove over there. It
Yeah,
was it was still
but
obviously enjoyable to watch as a normal viewer,
yeah,
but at the same time, you're taking from that.
and
Oh, we
it's
didn't
still
have
a
to blow
great
them up.
episode, and everything like that. Very very fun, and I think that because you have that connection to that stuff, it's like recently I listened to Masterful, and that introduced me to the Alex McQueen Master, and now I'm interested to see like his stuff and the Milo Parker Master, and I don't know what he's up to, but and those kind of things are they kind of lead on from one to another. Like start off with the David Tennant and continued on that way. But then throughout, and then throughout a bit of time, it's kind of developed, and now I watch a bit of classic Who as well. Slowly, watching all the seasons and everything like that. Something that is taking a while because I'm quite impatient with them. I try to watch like one a week, but I like to make sure that I do tend to watch the ones that I've seen before again. I don't like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't. It's just how I watch them because I watch them so far apart. I haven't seen Arc Infinity in about 2 years. So at that point, I gotta sit there and watch things as much as I can. But there's just so much to watch with Doctor Who that you kind of are just sitting
yeah.
there
It's
all day.
endless, isn't it?
It
It's a
feels
fandom
endless.
that's literally big on the inside. I didn't know about the books and the audio books until quite recently, and
Mm.
I was like, oh my god, there's so much I've not
Yeah,
seen.
I know.
And obviously now I'm going through all the classic Who, and I've just started on Colin Baker,
Has
and
anyone ever, do you
seeing
think,
how.
ever got
Hmm?
everything? Do you think anyone's ever done everything? Like, listened to all the audio plays, read all the
How
books?
long would it
I
take?
mean, it would take
It would
like
take a
a
long time.
lifetime,
I
surely.
started Doctor Who, the classic Who, in March last year in our first lockdown. We are currently in our third lockdown, and I'm still getting through it.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I've been
it's a
doing it for
long time.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
So,
think, but yeah, it's so
it's,
nice to watch classic Who and see how it's progressed as
mm,
well. And I
mm,
think that's what makes we were talking about set and things. It makes it so much more special that the set has remained the
mm.
same, and it changes every now and then, but it's still like it's still the TARDIS. You still look at it and think
Yeah.
that's the TARDIS. It's
Something
just
with
getting an
that
upgrade.
Christopher Eccleston said in an interview when the show is getting revived was
Yeah,
that even though we're not, Star Trek has all the money or did have the money back in the 80s, and other people have done sci-fi with a lot more money on big budgets and films and all that kind of stuff, have really meant that good, like well rendered spaceship battles and all types of stuff are
yeah,
possible on big budgets, obviously, but are possible. And then you have Doctor Who that doesn't have these big space battles, and I mean, it has cool effects like the thing
Yeah,
in Month Enough in
definitely.
Time, but at the end of the day, it's not like this big, it's not renowned for its amazing visual effects.
No,
But
I think it
Christopher
sticks very much to
Eccleston,
how it was made in the classic era. It
I don't
continues
think
with
it's
making
intentional. I
things.
think it's
Yeah.
by need,
Oh yeah.
necessity.
Yeah.
But Christopher
And I
Eccleston
like that they've
said
done
that you
that.
can still touch them, you can still reach out to them on an emotional level and
Yeah.
talk to them that way. And I think that something
Yeah,
like
it
that
makes it very
is
real.
something that other shows and other movies and stuff like that can't do. A lot of recently, I felt that a lot of films that are coming out have just been reboots or rehashes, and maybe there's the same with Doctor
Oh
Who
yeah.
about this whole reboot, rehash, and everything like that. And I'm sure that there's many times that that's happened. But when I watched just looking over Jurassic World, I didn't think, oh, this is a really cool experience. I thought, oh, this is a Jurassic World film, not and I think
Mm.
maybe I regret being maybe I should have been younger, because if I was younger then I probably wouldn't care that much. But and it's easier to fall into that idea. But because I wasn't really interested in superheroes or anything like that when I was younger, I think the first time that I was really completely interested in a film series was The Hobbit. Something outside of Doctor
Yeah.
Who was like The Hobbit, and then Star Wars, and that kind of stuff. And I would say that I'm particularly a big Star Wars fan. I kind of watch it because a lot of people that have common interest in Star Wars also have common interest in Doctor Who. Um, but maybe that's a good thing.
Mm.
But in terms of I kind of get sidetracked here. But in terms of the
You
representation,
got very
I've always felt like Doctor Who has been a mirror to myself and to my life in
mm.
some ways.
Yeah, I think overall
Companion
it's
wise and Doctor
provided.
wise.
Yeah, yeah. I think overall, and especially more so in New Who, but still loads of prominent messages in Classic Who as well. It's just provided so many valuable lessons for audience members and especially younger viewers. And it, with its consistent, yeah, with its consistency of, being kind and those messages of the Doctor being the unarmed man fighting against the bad,
Yep.
it's so good to have that sort of positive hero that doesn't use weapons against weapons sort of thing. He doesn't use hate to fight hate. It's so good to have that sort of superhero that doesn't have any powers and is very relatable and is very human in nature sometimes. He loses people, he moves forward with hope sometimes, and he the whole time he loves and he loses, and I think it makes him very human, and that's why it's a lot easier to relate to him and to have that idol and that person to look up to growing up is just
Hmm.
what makes it so valuable. And the messages that you learn throughout Doctor Who, shape and form some people who and how they are today. And it
Yeah.
just in general, the morals and the beliefs in Doctor Who and just a general kindness throughout the fandom as well. You think all the
Well,
cast get together and do
obviously,
charity events for like
there
Marie
are
Curie most recently.
instances when this kind of nice side of the fandom is also met by the horrible
Yes,
side. But
then
you
yeah, we'll
know,
focus on the nice side.
we'll vote
It
on the
just makes
nice.
reality so much easier to live in, especially in current times with COVID and everything. It's so nice to see that the fandom is still there for us. Like Russell T Davies was writing new mini clips for YouTube and things and
Yeah, did you
to do with the
see
stories.
that they're going to turn one of his scripts into his old scripts that he
Yeah,
wrote
one of his old
many years
scripts
ago
into a big finish. Yeah.
into a big finish?
The
And
fact that it's
he wasn't
still
supposed to say
going,
that, by the
it's
way.
just brilliant.
Yeah,
Oh.
things that he wasn't supposed to tell them
Mm.
yet.
Oh, really?
Because
Whoops.
it just kind of happened. Yeah, whoopsie daisy. So that I think that Doctor Who's got a lot to give, man. And
Yeah. And it keeps on giving. It's a gift that keeps on giving.
yeah, and the beauty of it is, even though many people don't like current era, and I think that deep down, even the people that I feel personally like I have to defend it more, just because I don't hate it. Just because I don't think every single episode is completely void of credit or
Mm.
some worth to it. Just because I don't think Jodie's the worst thing that ever existed or something like that. It's just those, because of those ideas, I feel like I have to kind of defend the show a bit more than I probably
Yeah.
would if
I'm just grateful it's
if it
still
wasn't
going
so big.
on. Even though I don't like
Yeah,
current
I
era, I'm
mean, I
grateful it's
wouldn't
still
cancel
going
it,
on. It's
just
still
because it's had a
giving
bit of
out
a rough
positive
turn.
messages, just not in a very impactful way.
Yeah, like some
But
people
we'll,
didn't like Peter Capaldi, but they didn't like call out that we must kill, we must kill
yeah,
the show,
yeah, I
cut
don't
the
know
show,
what's
defund the
happened.
BBC, and get rid of Doctor Who
Yeah,
because clearly it doesn't know
maybe
what it's
lockdown
doing.
has just changed people. And
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
we're just
well,
so
I mean, this is
maybe once
before
everything
lockdown.
calms down with COVID,
This is back
everyone
in
will sort of be like,
2018.
"What was that about?"
The
Yeah.
series came out.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like we got to get rid of this, get rid of that, and eventually it will change. It will
Yeah.
change hands into a different showrunner.
Mm.
Someone of our generation one day will be taking over the show. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll be able to take your dream role as a companion on Doctor Who and
Mm.
things like that. So hopefully that does come about. But um,
Yeah, I think aside from the current negativity within the fandom, there's always so much,
yeah, I don't hate it
unity with it. Like you
basically.
said earlier,
Yeah,
like I said with the Marie Curie charity events that David Tennant did with Georgia as well, and
hmm
Peter Davison came in, and all the cast, like
I
they're
mean,
all still committed to it, and that's what I love about it. And it's so
it is good,
wholesome and
isn't
so
it?
positive. Yeah.
Because I think that without that, like, if you didn't have, like, God, the idea to me now that Paul McGann, all that he would have done as the Doctor is the TV movie, that is
Yeah. And
terrifying.
now he's done
He's
so
done
many
so many box
audios.
sets, and I
He
now
comes to
think he's one of my favorite
conventions. Yeah.
Doctors.
Oh, yeah, me
Like,
too.
he might be, he's
Definitely.
up there
He's
with
brilliant.
Tennant now for me. Like,
Even
I
in
just
that
think he's so good
Night
as
of the
the Doctor.
Doctor, that 8 minutes, he was
Yeah,
the most doctory
such a good
doctor
Doctor.
ever, and he was beautiful, and
You
I
know,
loved it.
and multi-doctor stories that wouldn't be possible, and masterful, for example, that would be so expensive to do. That because, well, I won't talk about it any further than that, but just the ability to get all of those masters together, because they weren't all actually together, they were apart for most of it. They're in kind
Mm.
of blocks, and it meant that they could film everything that they needed and have them kind of cut in together, and somebody would read in. And I think that Legacy of
Yeah.
Time box sets, just everything that Doctor Who, Big Finish Productions and Doctor Who make are there for fans. These collection box sets are annoying, as I've talked about in
Yeah.
a recent video from last week, but they're also uh, a good thing for fans to have, and they're definitely something. It's like they knew what we wanted. We we want
Yeah.
this on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It's like it's
They're
very
constantly
good on that
providing.
respect, yeah. And
Mm.
we're quite lucky to have a property here that is being provided for. I'd hate, a Class. If you like Class, then even though Class was a flawed show in terms of its advertising, I thought it was great. I really liked it. I know some people didn't, and that's fine. But like, I really liked Class from start to finish. I just thought it was a very good show. I mean, it had some weird moments, but the way it was trying to tell a story that was different, I really enjoyed it, and something that I've kind of adapted for my own series. And with that, you've still got audio adventures. I don't know how many they're planning to do, because I know that 3 and 4 have come out, which I plan to get. But recently, I've been listening to the first and the second box sets. I've only got one episode left, which is In
Mm-hmm.
Remembrance, which is set during Remembrance of the Daleks with Ace and all that kind of stuff. Very good. Last time I listened to it, but is it going to be good the second time? God knows. But even then, I still kind of have that appetite ceased, fulfilled. Fulfilled's a better word.
Fulfilled. Yeah.
Imagine just how crazy all this like cool stuff that we get with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
big on the inside, isn't it? It's constantly providing.
yes.
And
Well,
so
I
many
feel like
things
we've
coming
got
out.
sidetracked again, by the way. But
Yeah,
what
I
you
do need to
were
go in a minute.
saying about 20 minutes ago about Doctor Who and its kind of representation, and it's how it's forgiving, and how
Yeah.
uh, we're all kind of invited and we're given so much cool stuff. And
Mhm.
what
Yeah,
was
it's so
the others
inclusive and
reference?
constantly it's so inclusive and constantly provides us with positivity and most of the time,
Yeah, the message,
and
good
constant
messages and
messages
everything like
that
that.
are so consistent throughout with the whole
And we
being
get
kind thing.
rewarded
And
for being, fans of the show with,
yeah,
box sets like Masterful. Very,
yeah.
very good. I was trying to relate. See, I was trying to relate it to my tangent then.
Oh, sorry.
But but so I think that is where we'll end it. It's gone on
Mhm.
for long enough, nearly an
Yeah.
extra hour.
Yeah.
That was unintentional. I
Well,
mean,
I'm glad we got to talk about it. It's something I've always wanted to
again,
talk about. So I'm glad.
I
I
mean, you
hope
did
I've
it
done it
twice.
justice. I know, yeah, and I've done it twice, so I
I mean,
really hope I've done it justice now.
I hope that
Because
it didn't come across as like weird though, because that'd be really
yeah.
annoying if it did. Hopefully, you did enjoy our podcast. There's a whole bunch of them, and we do them on every 5th of the month. If you're listening to this on YouTube, then you should leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify or any other platform would be lovely. I mean, we're at like 4.5 stars, something like that last time I checked,
Oh wow,
out of like 3 reviews. And
great.
I mean, but it's still a number. If you're interested to listen to other episodes and you're watching it on YouTube, or you're on a different platform and you would like to listen to it's on a different platform as well, confusion, then I suggest going down the description, and down there is a link to the link tree, which takes you. Whoa, I'm going to sing it from now on. The link to the link tree, and down there you can get basically a website that is full of all of our links to all of the providers that we go to. I'm working on a couple of extra ones to add there. So thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you did enjoy the podcast. I mean, we've done it twice now, and I think that even though we did it the first time, and I was very happy with that, and gutted that, and
This was
really
just as
annoyed.
good.
This one was, just as good with as many tangents as the
Yeah.
first.
Yeah,
So
just to sum it up, Doctor Who's very important. It gives you valuable life
big
lessons. You should all
values
watch
and
it.
very
If you're
nice.
looking for the reason to watch it, listen to this
Why the hell would
and
you be
then
listening to? Why would you
hopefully go
listen to
watch it.
this far, and then go, "What
Yeah.
show are they talking about? This sounds great." Um, so thank you very much for listening, and we shall see you soon.
Bye.
Goodbye. Oh, we have to say it at the same time. I have to say it first, and then you say it. Okay, do it again. Okay. Goodbye.
Wait, who's saying bye first?
I say bye first. I just said bye. Now you say
Oh,
bye.
I thought you already said bye.
You said it at the same time. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
That's better.